The Invoices and Timesheet page allows you to record your time against particular clients so that you can bill them for them. So it depends on how you bill your customers. So it could be project based and it's just a fixed amount per month, or it could be based on the work that you actually do. So we have a mechanism for creating timesheets that you can then link into the invoice. So in this instance, we're looking at a timesheet. Now, you could do it on a client level. So you could go into the client, and as you are working on that client's information, you can create the timesheet there, or I can create it from this point of view. So first of all, let's go in as a client, should we? So let's pick client A, open up that page, and let's record a timesheet. So if I on task A, so you can put in the level of detail that you want. Now you can link it to a particular task if you wanted to. This is just for information purposes. It's not necessarily something that the client will see. It's just maybe something that is appropriate for you, information for you to help you out. The work time is the key thing that you want to be doing here. So you are recording the length of time that you have worked on the project. So what you want to do is include an end date and a time. So you need to make sure that you click on these two items here. So today is the 7th of November, so we started there, and let's say we started at 9 AM and I finished it at 3 PM. Right, okay, we've logged that. I'm happy with that. It will then automatically work out that 6 hours were worked on it at that point in time. So from there, we can do another day. So throughout the month, every time we work on something for that client, we can link that in. So by doing it from the client level, you have that client automatically linked in. If I now go to the main Invoices and Timesheets page, we will see that client's timesheet. So we've got the one that we've just created. I could create it here. So work on task A. Again, it's the same activity that I'm doing, but this time I can put in all of the information that I would put in again. This time, let's go back in time, shall we? So let's say I did it yesterday, and I didn't start till 9:30, and I worked till 11 o'clock. So if we come out now, it's calculated at 1.5 hours. So again, we have now 2 records of us working for that client in that month. So what we then want to do is link it to an invoice. So we have a record here, but we have no invoices. So let's just create a new invoice. So client A, call it what you want, whatever your naming convention would be. And let's open it up. So it's got information up here, but we don't really want to worry about that. And within here, we have a template for creating the invoice. Now, as with all things templated within Notion, it's best to make sure that this contains the information that you want prior to starting creating it. You want to do it once. So actually, if I come out of there and go here, well, I want to edit it, just show you what we've got. So if we look there, this is the invoice that we're looking at. So you can put your details in there, the company names in there. So what we want to do We would have updated this so that it was linked to and appropriate for the client in question. So we have the client invoice here. We now have one. We've created the placeholder for the invoice. So what we want to do is say, actually, these two timesheets are linked to that invoice. So if you had multiple invoices that were available, then they would appear in that list. So now we can link it to client A separately. We can say when it's going to be due, so it's going to get sent out on the 30th of November maybe. This information has come from the tasks that you linked in here, all purely optional. You don't need to put that level of detail. All it needs to work out the information that goes onto the invoice is the work hours. And then it's up to you how much information you actually create in your timesheet. So because we've linked in those two work hours, it's a total of 7.5, and we haven't got an hourly rate for that client. So let's just, in this instance, we should have filled in the hourly rate in the project. So let's put that in there, close that down, and now it knows that the hourly rate is £50. We've done 7.5 hours. Therefore, the subtotal is 375, including tax. And again, you put in the calculation at this point, edit property, edit the formula. And for the UK, tax is 20%, so you put in 0.2, but you change that to be the appropriate tax level for yourselves. And so it works out the total amount. So that's what it would be there. If we now open up this, it's created an invoice page, which if it's got the details that you've set up in your template, then it will already pre-populate it with the information for that client. And it gives you the details and times from the timesheet, of which you can then manually put into this breakdown. And the reason why I say that is if, let's open this up to a full page, these are just PDF documents that I could be exporting out. So if we use the standard Notion export, it will export it to a PDF. If I export this and it just has the timesheet details, you will get everything in there, and it's all unformatted and it's pretty awful, to be honest. So what I have is a simplified version, and you can then make sure that you are including the information that you want in your invoice and not everything else. So you can put all of that detail in and delete this record here. So this is for reference, but you need to make sure that you delete it before you export it. Or you could just take this information and put it in another templated form, and you can then monitor the progress. So you know when it's waiting, you know when it's due, and you can follow it through from there. Once these timesheets have been added to an invoice and it's been paid, you can then archive them off so that you're only ever looking at current timesheets. So you're not having a constant list. If you do something by mistake, then you can bring them all back again. And that is Invoices and Timesheets.